Hello and welcome to the Center Hub 2025 WNBA Mock Draft. Really exciting time right now. A week and a half out before the WNBA draft commences here. Really excited to get into that. And I could think of no better people than two good buddies of mine, fellow Center Hub members. We got Conrad. If you listen to any basketball show, you know who he is. And we also got first-time guest, but it will not be the last time guest here, Maxwell as well. Conrad, Maxwell, how y'all doing?
Good.
I'm doing great. Yeah, doing great. Excited to talk WNBA draft.
That's right. I know. I cannot believe that the draft, as of this recording, it's in 12 days. It's 12 days, which is, I mean, like, there's no downtime. That's why I commend. I really applaud these ladies, these hoopers, because I mean, you know, they go straight into this. You know, they have barely any time to kind of collect their thoughts. You know, so yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, there's
GMs too. GMs too. I mean, it's still a crapshoot figuring out who's going to be in this draft and who's not going to be in this draft. And we're less than 2 weeks away.
I know, that's the thing. I mean, I understand. You know, for the players, especially that are in the Final Four, you do not want any additional distractions, right? You want to be focused on the tournament, but at the same time, like, man, are you going to declare? You know,
Yeah.
And as we've already seen, you know, some players that their seasons have ended, some that we thought might have been included in this draft class, they have elected to return to college. So, I mean, this draft hasn't even started, you know, and it's already kind of, I don't know. I don't want to say chaotic, but we've already been thrown a number of curved balls. Yeah.
We got some action already. And I agree. I think it's so surreal to watch, you know, women's college basketball and see so many athletes kind of play the biggest game of their collegiate careers, at least up to this point. And then, you know, win or lose right afterwards, have to make a very big decision regarding their future, you know, whether it is returning back to school, whether it is going back to school and entering the transfer portal, or if that's going straight to the W. And so, yeah, that's a lot of action. I love it. It makes things interesting. We already had some really shocking news already. We'll kind of get into that a little bit here as we go into the draft, the mock draft between us. But before we even do, I wanted to ask both of you, kind of from, you know, insider's perspective, both of you have really been tuning into, you know, women's college basketball and evaluating draft prospects and really looking at it just in depth. But from an overview, just a bird's eye view, how do we look at the 2025 WNBA draft? Just in general, how do we feel about the draft class?
I mean, this draft class has lost a lot of luster, you know, and that's putting it, well, I mean, I think that's putting it fairly. I think a lot of some of the intriguing prospects, such as Olivia Miles, AZ Fudd, even some of the second round prospects, you know, it looks like Gianna Neepkins will be returning. I'm not sure about Janiyah Barker, but I mean, just looking at her social, it seems like she's leaning towards returning for another year, I believe at UCLA, unless she's going to be one of the 1,100 plus to enter the transfer portal. So I personally still like this draft class. I think there are a lot of exciting prospects. It's just that I think the ceiling, at least right now, today, April 2nd, 2025, like, I don't see as many superstar or star prospects, let alone franchise players. I think there are a lot that can project to be some solid, perhaps starters, definitely some, you know, very high impact rotation players. But, you know, I don't think we really see the same kind of upside that we did when some of those other players that could have potentially been part of this draft class were, you know, considering being in it. So that's where I'm at, but I'm still really looking forward to seeing how this all plays out.
Yeah, I think I'm at a very similar spot. I mean, on my big board, just looking at it, with Olivia Miles dropping out, I have two players who are at that kind of superstar, potential like franchise changer. And then I have 7 players who are that probable starter tier. And then I have another 5 players that are probable rotation tier. So like I think there's a lot of beef in that, after the first couple picks, that pick 3 through about 16 for me. I think there's a lot more beef in this class than there has been in the last couple years. And I think there's a lot more players in this class that are ready to contribute in the NBA or in the WNBA.
Yeah. And obviously for today's exercise, we'll only be drafting the first round. But I think in years past, fans, but even GMs, right? How they've approached the third round, you just kind of take a flyer. And I'm not sure how much thought, or a consideration goes into those third round selections. Because it's like, hey, you bring to training camp, a lot of third round picks don't make it out of training camp. So the reason why I bring that up is because I think starting this draft class, we are now introducing obviously the 13th team, the Golden State Valkyries. Next year, we introduce 2 more, right? The Toronto Tempo and Portland. I'm not sure what name they've settled on yet. What I'm saying is we're having another expansion draft. So think of what happened to like the rosters this year with one team drafting. Now you're having 2 players from each team being plucked, that's going to change things. And I think if you look at the way some of the better teams or like the well-built teams, maybe like, the New York Liberty, the Minnesota Lynx, the way they've approached their third round picks, kind of keeping kind of like those ringers, right? Like kind of no pun intended, right? Having someone waiting in the wing. That right might impact how GMs want to approach the third round, right? Maybe draft and stash really is a better way. And so I think there might be a lot more consideration, a lot more, kind of being a little bit more meticulous of how you want to approach those later picks.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I think another factor that kind of plays into that is the CBA expiring on Halloween, and that's something that I don't see a lot of people talking about yet. But I think as we kind of get to June, July of the season, we're going to start to see that impact a lot more. And you see a lot of teams already. If you look at multi-year salary cap tables for teams, I mean, you see a lot of teams positioning to be ready to spend money this winter and this spring to build an entirely new team. So I think that has almost just as big an impact on the third round specifically this year. I think we might see a lot more stashes and not as many domestic players at the end of the draft, just to save money.
Yeah. Or, I mean, potentially it's not, let's see if this becomes a new strategy, some domestic draft and stashes.
Get ahead of the jump.
Handshake agreement, like, hey, we're going to draft you, but you know what? You get to training camp next year, right after the expansion draft. That's what I'm saying. I think now is where GMs really need to leave no stone unturned, right? You really need to be more creative. So, having said that, we're going to do our best to be serving as these teams' GMs today.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're well represented. It's gonna be a great draft. Really excited. Real quick, just gonna kind of set the, I don't want to say Toronto tempo, but set the tempo here. I'm gonna go take the first pick, just because I love a good home run. I love a good easy pick here. So I'm gonna start there. After that, we have the order already arranged. So Conrad with the next pick. Maxwell being a Washington Mystics fan, we'll get the next couple, and then we'll alternate from there. So y'all be able to follow along. It's all gonna be great.
We should get the drafting. The draft sound.
Oh my goodness! You know what?
Absolutely.
I totally. Let me see if I can get that bad boy here in time. Hopefully by pick 3, we'll work on that.
Yeah,
I'll be behind there, frankly, making that happen. That'll be a blast. But, darn, I wish I had it already. All right, acapella.
There you go.
There we go. That's what's gonna work for now. But listen, y'all. With the first overall pick in the 2025 WNBA Mock Draft here at the Center Hub, I'm representing the Dallas Wings, and come on now, it's simple. We're taking Paige Bueckers, number 1 overall out of UConn. Yeah, I'll take all the applause now. Honestly, like this was really a simple pick. You're getting a cerebral playmaker. You're getting a true combo guard. All 3 levels of the score. Has never shot less than 52% from the field in any of her college seasons, which is crazy. Because you look at her scoring ability, her ability to rack up good numbers, her ability to, generate free throw attempts, shoot from deep. And it's not just the offensive side. Like, she gets after defensively as well. But I think obviously offense is where that's going to be the bread and butter. And between her playmaking and her scoring ability, I think Dallas is getting a player who can come right in, really help juice up their offense and kind of help them, build. I still think, a couple pieces still trying to gel together, but like make them a lot better as they continue to try to figure out what this nucleus of their team will be. But that's my initial analysis. I want to get both y'all takes on Paige. Obviously, that's not a controversial pick. We all know she's going number one. But how do y'all feel about that? Any questions? Anything kind of lingering there? Like, how do we feel about her fit in Dallas moving forward?
I personally love the fit in Dallas. So Curt Miller is now the GM there, and then former USC coach CK, as they called him, Chris Koklanis, he is the new coach of the Dallas Wings. Super familiar with star talent. He obviously coached Juju her freshman year, and he's been a long time coach. And he actually coached under Curt Miller when he was coaching with the Sun and with the Sparks for a little bit before he joined USC. So this pairing goes back quite a while, and I think it's a really good starting point for this new Dallas Wings regime getting Paige. I think, as far as I have been watching college women's basketball, I don't think I've seen a better player operate in the mid-range, especially with pick and rolls. I don't think I've seen a better player operate within pick and rolls. She's insane creating for people. I mean, Sarah Strong and her have just been putting up artwork in this tournament. It's been beautiful to watch. So I think if you're Dallas, it's a no-brainer. And I mean, you're getting a generational prospect here. I love Paige in Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, I think, on Indie Basketball and Center Hub, when we do our any mock draft, whether it's NBA or WNBA, my philosophy has been very simple. I'm always the best player available kind of guy. Fit or need, I guess need is a tiebreaker. So if I have a couple prospects that I kind of have ranked somewhat equally, then the tiebreaker is, what does my team need? So I don't want to be hypocritical. That's why I'm trying to check myself here. I don't have Paige Bueckers as the number one prospect on my big board. We'll get to that later. Now, having said that, if I were truly Dallas's GM, I am still probably, yes, I am taking Paige. One, if I'm being real, it's my job security on the line. But also, I mean, in this case, it's close enough. Like, my number one prospect, I can't say that, her theoretical ceiling isn't so far and away that much better that I'm going to just completely overlook what we do know Paige is, as a known commodity, right? That's hardly a finished product, but what we do know that she brings, as Maxwell said, I mean, her mid-range game, her pull-up game is not even great. It is elite. A catchphrase I always like to use, right, which is big for me, is zone breakers. Can you truly actually break a zone? She can. She will carve. I mean, that's why this upcoming matchup against UCLA is so fascinating. UCLA's base set is they want to keep bets in a drop as much as possible. And I want to see how long they can, because, yeah, Paige is going to shred that up. I mean, unless she, knock on wood, unless she has just an off night, but rarely has she, right? I mean, she's a 50, 40, 90 this year, quite literally historically efficient player. And as Corban, as you said, I mean, no, she is no slouch on defense. I mean, she is great at the point of attack. I mean, the only reason why UConn switches so much is because they're all such high level defenders that they are comfortable doing that. But yeah, I like the fit again with Arike, Dejanay Carrington.
Yeah,
it fits so well. Obviously Dejanay's ability to force defensive playmaking. So when you get out and running, I mean, you see it, right? It's just Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, she's going to Dallas.
Melissa Smith. Yeah, that's gonna be interesting for sure. I'm excited about that. Definitely.
Let me throw a kind of curveball question out there. Do you think Paige Bueckers is going to be top 10 in assists per game this year?
I'm trying to think off the top. I say yes, but like I'm trying to run through names here.
So that's kind of like where I'm at with her and the fit, and like kind of some of the questions that I'm asking myself as far as like what the Dallas Wings do beyond just drafting her is like, is she playing the 1, Arike 2, Dejanay 3, Nalissa 4, Tiara at the 5? Like, probably, you know, I would assume, right? Yeah. But like Paige is going to have to play 1. You know, yeah. I don't know if Arike is going to be able to run to move the ball that effectively with those 4 players on the court around her.
Yeah,
I mean,
as a lead initiator, I don't know.
For her,
I say this with the utmost respect. Like, I don't think having Arike on ball, as much as she has been the last couple seasons, is the right strategy for any team they're going. Let's say they went in a different direction. They didn't draft Paige. Like, I don't think that is the role for her.
I agree.
You know, having to break defenses down off the dribble, like, make no mistake, she is great off the dribble, but you want her in attack mode, right? Like, having to set everybody up, like, it just prevents her from doing what she does best. And I think that's ironically like when the Wings offense has stagnated like this last season. So that's why I actually do like her being a 2. Make no mistake, she'll still be handling the ball. She'll still be, you know, playmaking. That's what she's great at. But I don't want that to be her primary responsibility. So yeah, I do see Paige as the 1.
I'm with you 100%. That's why I asked that question, because I think that could be really juicy if they really lean into that and CK can get that rolling.
Yes.
Yeah, that'll be fun for sure. And I agree with all the analysis already. I think that, you know, you want to free the scorers to do what they do best, which is score, right? Paige is, I think, between the two most equipped to kind of do the balancing of that. And Arike, she can move the ball around. But at the same time, like, her being, like you said, attack-minded, ready to score, that offense is going to be fun to watch. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that in action. But the number 2 pick, enough of the number 1. We are now moving on to the number 2 overall pick, and I think that is going to Conrad. Conrad, you got the wheel.
Do 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 do.
Still working on it. You got
it. So this is making an assumption that she does declare, because she's made it known that she is at least considering, with the number 2 overall pick of the 2025 WNBA draft, the Seattle Storm select LSU guard Flau'jae Johnson.
Oh,
yeah.
All righty.
Yes. Yeah. Right. So for this exercise, this could be dated very quickly.
I love this for Noelle Quinn, though.
Yeah. I mean, okay. Again, I am checking myself because I feel like a hypocrite. She is not, even if she declares, I do not have her. I will still not have her number 1 on my big board. But again, the difference between where I have her and my number 1 ranked prospect, it's not big enough a difference. I like this fit short term and long term. They still got Skylar Diggins-Smith. They still got NECA. You know, obviously Gabby Williams is back in the fold. Ezri Magabor, unfortunately, Jordan Horston got hurt, playing this offseason. But for the time being, Seattle wants to continue being competitive. That is a competitive unit. Is it a championship unit? You ask me personally? No. But I do believe they are a competitive outfit. And frankly, with the absence of Jordan Horston, all the more, Flau'jae joining that team is a perfect fit. But in terms of what they actually not even just positionally, what they need, right? I mean, they have with Gabby Williams there too, they have a fantastic defensive identity. Flau'jae will only add to that, you know? And frankly, offensively, I mean, I don't know. Like, she may not be Paige, But whatever that next tier is, she's there, you know? And I say that like with respect, like she is an absolute like 3-level scorer. So, and then again, big picture, I like the idea of if after this season with, I believe, SDS, NECA, their contracts are, expiring after this year. If Seattle wants to pivot and like kind of go leading into their youth, I like that core. I like a theoretical core of Flau'jae, Ezzy, Gabby Williams, right? I mean, that is a substantial core that you can build around. So, yeah, I would like to see her. Personally, I would like to see her. I think at this point, with Olivia Miles, electing to return, like if after Paige, Flau'jae is, in my opinion, she's easily the second best guard in this draft class.
Yeah,
I don't think it's particularly close. So yeah, I'm going with Flau'jae. I think it just makes a lot of sense for them all around,
Yeah, I right now am assuming that she's not going to go. I don't have any particular reason or basis to think that, other than just after seeing Olivia Miles go back, I think that we're going to see a lot of the prospects in this draft wait till that CBA gets negotiated, and wait another year and ride out NIL. So that's just kind of why I think that. Also, I'm pretty sure she's well represented. I don't know if you guys know about her representation, but I would imagine that people are advising her to wait to go in the WNBA draft. So that's just why I think that. If she does go in, I think that's a phenomenal fit. I think as far as like coach-player fit, Noelle Quinn's going to love someone like Flau'jae Johnson as far as play intensity, as far as tenacity, offensive creation. She can play on the ball. She can play off the ball. Her being a cutter in that offense is going to be phenomenal, but also Seattle definitely needs people to handle the ball right now. So I think that's a great pick. I think you and I both have another prospect in our top 3. Yeah. But I think with Seattle right now, the biggest question, and kind of like what I ask myself, is like, them and the Sparks right now are kind of battling for that 3rd seed in the West, in my mind, before the season gets rolling. And so if you're the Storm and you have this opportunity to build, to add a serious piece to your roster, I think the best opportunity is Flau'jae Johnson, getting the most pro-ready domestic player, can immediately plug in, can be an immediate backcourt starter in the WNBA. And I think defensively, she's going to hold up just fine. I know some people are worried about her defensively. I know some people are worried about her mental and some things there, like effort, in-game effort and things like that. I don't really have those worries. I think she's a phenomenal prospect, and I love her motor. I love her drive. So I think she's going to have a long WNBA career. I love the fit with Noelle Quinn.
And before we move on from the Flau'jae Johnson selection, I do have a question. I wasn't actually familiar with the representation. So for myself, as well as the viewers/listeners, is there any insight there to add, Maxwell?
No, I was actually asking you guys. I actually don't know who she's represented by. Let me see if I can look it up.
My fault. Did not mean to put you on the spot there.
No, but let's see if she's represented by anyone.
Well, while you're looking that up, I mean, I don't know. I mean, just the fact that, like, after LSU was eliminated from the tournament, that she kind of brought it up on her own accord, because the assumption was that she was returning. That's why it kind of made headlines, right? Because it was from her mouth, right? Broaching that subject. But since then, in the last day, if I had to, like, is it a possibility she might declare? I mean, you had Saniya Smith, all right? Saniya Smith and Lastier Pois enter the transfer portal.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 2 of their starters, and that's, like some big names.
Guys,
so that's what I'm saying. Like, is she really returning? And is she really going to pull Olivia Miles? You're going to return to college only to transfer? I mean, like, what's the? I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to wish cast this. It's
I feel dumb. Her mom is actually the one who represents her. And I swear to God, I saw some Sports Center special or some like pregame about her mom representing her. And man, but yeah, so it's actually, as far as I can tell, the most up to date that I can see is that her mom actually represents her and they negotiate NIL deals together.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we'll see. Like I said, I mean, personally, I wish her well. I'm not like pushing her for, to go in the dub. I'm just saying if she does, because I think there's a lot of reasons why now she should. And at this point, I mean, like, if you want to go to Seattle, like, do you want to go to Seattle? Do you want to go to the Mystics? Like, you're not getting past the Valkyries. That's what I'm saying.
No chance.
So that's her mom. Do you want to go to one of these 3 teams? I mean, that's it. Right?
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, I think she's got a great choice or great options.
For sure. Well, now speaking of options, we are moving on to the number 3 pick. That is the Washington Mystics, and Maxwell is making the decision there. And let me see if I have done this right. Little test. There we go. So with that, Maxwell's on the clock.
So before Maxwell makes a selection, just for the audience, since Maxwell is a diehard Mystics fan, he will be making all the selections for the Washington Mystics, right? Who holds picks 3, 4, and 6.
We're getting greedy over here. We're getting super greedy.
I love it.
So the Mystics are kind of in an interesting spot right now because we just cleaned house. We're out of the Tybalt regime, which famously got us a WNBA championship with Elena Delle Donne as our 1, and has since kind of slowly sputtered out into middling playoff exits. And after drafting Aaliyah Edwards last year and watching her and Shakira Austin and a few other of our younger pieces kind of work it out, we are going to continue down the path of youth and take Dominique Malonga from Asvel, who is my number 2 prospect, and is I don't want to say widely debated Conrad, because I don't really think that's fair. I think she's a consensus top 5 prospect among most people. So, yeah. But I think as far as like being in that top 5, I've seen people have her 1. I've seen people have her around that 5 or 6 range. On my big board, her and Paige are in a tier by themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that it's a pretty wide gap between Malonga, who's my 2nd player, and then the 3rd player on my board. For the Mystics, obviously, we have Stephanie Dolson, Shakira Austin, Aaliyah Edwards. We have some players in our front court already. Malonga is not going to play right away for us. As far as like immediate April, May minutes, June, July, we might start to see her. But I think if you're the Mystics, just the general thought here is you're trying to retool, not rebuild, if you will. We're not trying to completely sink the ship anymore like we were last year. We have 3 draft picks on the top 8, and I think the best pick right here is BPA, highest upside, and I think Malonga provides that. Defensively, I think she has a chance to win Defensive Player of the Year down the road. I mean, she's that special defensively.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you said. When free agency started and the Mystics basically it's like they turned their phone off or something, they took a lot of criticism. But I gotta admit, given that when you're doing that, it seems like, okay, we're focusing on a rebuild, and the manner in which they've already started this, obviously make some good picks, right? And then development comes in. But for now, I really like where the Mystics are set up. I think they're kind of, defining what they believe is their timeline. And because I like that. I think with the WNBA, it's been interesting. Like, you can make an argument, okay, prior to this year, there were 12 teams. You can kind of get yourself back into the playoff picture fairly quickly because there's only 12 teams and 8 make the playoffs. However, because there's only 12 teams, you see like these super teams, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, well, how close are we? And so other teams, like, great, you got into that 7th or 8th slot. You made some, splash signings, but you're kind of just in the middle. You're a first round out, So obviously we need to see what the Mystics ultimately do. And, but I like that right now it looks like they really are taking that big picture approach. And I think Dominique Malonga is actually number 1. That's why I feel very hypocritical about what I've said for picks 1 and 2. But she is technically, yes, the number 1 prospect on my big board. I'm with Maxwell. I do believe she has DPOY potential, in her future. I think selling her as this unicorn athlete doesn't do her justice. We've seen athletes before, right? But 6'6" that move like that move because she has the actual skills, the handle, the dribble, right? She can manipulate cadence. When you have all that, then your functional athleticism is off the charts, and you're seeing the way, in France, in Euro Cup play, the manner in which she's like scoring. And you want to talk about shooting flashes? I mean,
she has that one leg fadeaway going.
It's coming.
Her jumper looks better than I think some of the other shooting big prospects in this draft class, and we'll get to them. You know what I'm saying? So,
100%.
Yeah, I can't
protect that.
Malonga. I would. Well, I mean, the Mystics have 3 and 4. I'm just gonna say, like, I would be shocked if she somehow made it to the Valkyries. Like, I don't see that anymore. So.
Okay. Yeah, I think it would be really tough for her to make it to the Valkyries unless the Mystics are taking a different approach and really love Kiki Iriafen or really love, a combination at 3 and 4 that, is just ingrained in, that they cannot pass up. But I just think in this draft, 1 and 2, there's just such a drop off with Bueckers and Malonga personally. Yeah. And I think Flau'jae would be, she'd be 3rd on my board if she does declare, but even she doesn't fall in that tier with Bueckers and Malonga for me. So I think if you're the Mystics, you got to go BPA there.
Yeah, and to be fair, I believe it's Kevin Pelton, I think late yesterday mentioned something that Seattle is pretty high on Malonga. So, I mean, I don't know if they would have really strongly considered Olivia Miles anyway, had she stayed in this draft class. So, yeah, this is exactly the BPA that I think is just perfect, for this team.
Yeah. So,
we gotta get back.
Wait.
I know. I just realized. There we go.
With the 4th pick in the WNBA draft, the Washington Mystics select Sonia Citron. So right here, we're going to go with Sonia Citron. Here's kind of my logic. She is not the next best player on my board. I actually have a couple players above her on my big board. But for the Mystics, if you're drafting Malonga at 3, I think you need to take... we kind of need a connector like that to play on the perimeter, playoff ball. Someone who's reliable on defense can immediately come into the WNBA and play league average defense on the perimeter on smaller wings. I think she might be a little outmatched trying to guard up maybe against some bigger wings right away. But I think that her basketball IQ, both on offense and defense, is not talked about enough and is above average for playing off ball and playing next to 2 elite guards. I like Sonia Citron a lot. I love the way that she shoots the ball. I think she's one of the best shooters in this draft. And I think with her, it's one of the classic high floor, maybe lower ceiling, where I don't think she fails in the WNBA. It's just a matter of what are you going to get out of her and where are you going to use her on the court? Are you going to use her as I guess where kind of I'm at with my thinking is like her high end outcome is like a Marina Mayberry light, type. and I think her low end outcome is like a Katie Lou Samuelson, which is not a bad outcome either way. But that's kind of like where I fall with her. But I think for the Mystics, it's a fail safe pick, and I think we kind of need that player at the 2 and 3 right now, especially with Brittany Sykes. That'd be a great fit.
Do you see her as like a possible like Ariel Atkins kind of replacement?
So that's tough because I love Ariel, and I think that's asking a lot of her year one, because I don't know how much offense she's going to be able to generate on her own, especially playing with like Shakira Austin and Brittany Sykes, who are going to be, creating a lot of their own offense. And who knows what Malonga does hypothetically in this situation where we have her as well. That would, I just kind of worry about her being an initiator of her own offense, but that's kind of why I like her on the Mystics alongside Brittany Sykes and some other players who are going to be taking a lot of shots, who maybe don't have that advanced offensive IQ where they're moving the ball and it looks like poetry every time. Yeah. Our offense got stagnant a lot last year, and with new coach, new regime, Sydney Johnson, we're going to be moving the ball a lot more. He comes from a 3-on-3 international background. Our ball movements could be a lot better this year, but I just worry about that still after being burned last year and watching so much stagnant, bad basketball. And I think with someone like Citron, she's just a very good connector on offense, and on defense, on ball and off ball. She is bringing you WNBA league average defense, both on and off. So I think for the Mystics here, after taking Malonga 3, Citron's a pretty good high floor, low ceiling, fail safe pick here.
I like it.
Yeah, I mean, she's pretty high up on my board at this point. I kind of have her and 2 other prospects kind of jumbled together. So again, this is where the tiebreaker would be, what do you need? In this case, again, I like, it's the right kind of contrast, the yin and yang of 3 and 4, right? You kind of go with the high ceiling theoretical pick, and then you go with not necessarily the lower, not a low ceiling, but a lower ceiling. And again, kind of someone that you think is more of a sure thing. I think that's going to be the appeal with Sonia Citron for any of the teams at the top of the draft, is that, again, I think Corban and I have talked about this before. It's that she could fit any team. That's the thing, right? I think she is like this year's Swiss Army knife,
Agreed.
As Maxwell said, connective passing. But again, I'm not sure unless she shows something more than what we're expecting, and we think highly of her. It's just, I think she'll always kind of be like a secondary ball handler, a secondary playmaker, a connective passer. So that's why, I mean, how much can she generate her own offense? That's TBD. I mean, obviously last year when Olivia Miles was out, she did a good job, at least, being a facilitator for Notre Dame's offense, something more than a game manager.
Yeah.
So I definitely like her. I mean, I would have been definitely, if she had fallen to 5, probably would have strongly considered her, for my pick for the Valkyries. But I think, again, it really makes sense for what the Mystics want to do, right? And again, it's having like this kind of coherent identity timeline. So I like it.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great pick. I really, I mean, one, that she's drafted in the top 5. I knew this was probably going to happen with all of us here, but I one of my favorite player fits, so yeah, totally on board with that. And now we are moving on. We have the number 5 overall pick going to the new team in the W. There we go, the Golden State Valkyries. And you know what? I love that. That was good. I'm going to get the music on here now. Going now, Conrad with that 5th overall pick. Let's see what he does here.
Should I just go ahead and name it, or should I preface why I'm going to make this pick?
Give us the preface. I like it.
Okay. So in the expansion draft, the Dallas Wings, for some reason, decided not to protect their first-round pick from just last year, right? French point guard Carla Late, right? And in my opinion, right, so she was, the 8th or 9th overall pick last year in the 2024 WNBA draft. Carla
think she's
Late
nice.
is a fantastic point guard, right? So just today, they won her team in France. Excuse me. They won a Euro Cup, and she is just an incredible, obviously, pick and roll, but her ability to just manipulate defenses with screens, right? Not just because she's from France, but her ability to use like Euro ball screens. She is just excellent, in like Spain pick and rolls or staggered screens. Excellent shooter. She's like a pinball out there. Frankly, like she looks for contact, and that's not grifting, like she'll use it to her advantage. So I'm saying all of that because it definitely, I think a lot of Valkyrie fans, they are fixated on Natalie Nakase's quote saying, we want to run and we want to shoot threes. Well, I mean, it's not like they're just going to be running up the court and jacking up threes, right? Nor does that mean that they're necessarily going to be playing 5 out. No, right? I mean, Natalie Nakase, especially when she was coaching like in Japan, I mean, she runs a lot of not necessarily motion, but kind of like a juiced up Princeton offense, right? So where, there's a lot of motion off ball, right? But then that primary ball handler still has to, kind of attack those screens quickly and make quick decisions. So that's why I believe Carla Late will be a great fit for what Natalie Nakase wants to do. Now, again, that was really long. I am saying all that because now that we have another year of seeing Carla Late.
I know where you're going.
Yeah.
I think she would have been a top 5 pick in this draft class. I think she would have been right up there with Flau'jae, challenging for the second best guard behind, after Paige.
Probably,
so
yeah.
What I'm saying is I am looking at her as a first round pick this year. So I'm not going to pick a point guard because I just drafted one, right? That's how I'm looking at it. So, okay, you don't need to push the music again, but
I was waiting for it.
I think some Valkyrie fans might be upset with this pick, but again, I'm going with best player available that I do think also fits this team. I am going with
to the wire.
Ajša Sivka from Tarvis.
Oh wow! Okay.
Woo!
Yeah, I'm going with Ajša Sivka, right?
Serbian Dewan of Honor.
The 6'4" wing.
International
right?
shooter.
Yeah. And I mean, she's drawn a lot of comparisons to Leonie Fibic. I personally don't like doing player comparisons. I love this comparison because that was the first thing I thought when I saw Ajša Sivka play. I think that we talked about this, right? I mean, when we say versatile defenders, I mean, you need versatile defenders. And I'm not just trying to use recency bias. Leonie Fibic literally was kind of like the game changer for the Liberty. Like she kind of put them over the hump. Not only was she key in winning the game defensively, but defensively at 6'4", she literally guarded all 5 positions at different points, right, in the WNBA finals. Now, I'm not saying Sivka is going to be doing that from day one, but she is definitely that archetype, right? Again, I'm not sure if she is a very good shooter. She's a fantastic passer.
Mm-hmm.
Off the dribble, it's to be determined. I mean, she has a good handle, right?
At the very least.
Yeah. But I just really love how she is like that supercharged glue guy, connective piece. I know that some fans may not like the idea of drafting an international player just because, again, this summer with Eurobasket, will they even come over immediately? And again, just like the lack of familiarity. But I mean, I'm born and raised in the Bay Area, right? We love basketball. The Valkyries have already sold out selling season tickets. What I'm saying is I believe whoever we draft, the Bay, they're going to embrace her. So I understand, like, if you want, like, some fans may want a more high profile player. I want who I think is the best player that could actually eventually make this team a championship team. You know, I think she can do that. So I'm going to go with Ajša Sivka.
I love that pick for you guys. I'm also a big Ajša Sivka fan. I call her Serbian Dewana Bonner Light because that's like who she reminded me of the very first time I watched her a year ago. I was like, look at those skinny legs and the way that she sets for her jump shot. And, you know, it's like when Dewana Bonner like really started to like get comfortable shooting in the W. And it was like, especially like watching her shoot from the corner. It's not identical. And I'm with you. I'm not a big player comp person either. But I'm big on Sivka. I have a lot of concerns as far as defense in the W and play strength right away. I mean, as we do most, you know, foreign players who are coming over at a young age who, you know, are pretty skinny like that. But I think for the Valkyries, I think that's a great fit for her. You know, you're giving her a launching pad. You know, I'm also a Wizards fan, so I can talk very well about, you know, giving rookies a lot of minutes early and giving them a launching pad and letting them spread their wings and fly, you know, watching AJ Johnson 20 pieces in the NBA right now. So I love that pick for you guys. And I think for you guys, you got to take a swing. Why not? You know, like you said, if you're going to embrace her, and I mean, I personally think there might be another foreign prospect that has a higher ceiling, potentially. But Sivka's size is what's really tantalizing because she might not be done growing yet. And that's like the one thing that I don't see people talk about with her is like she might not be done growing. And if she gets to 6'5", 6'6", I think she's listed at 6'4" right now.
Yeah, 6'4".
So she gets to 6'5", 6'6", that could be a real problem in the WNBA.
Just looking at her competition, like, you know, the say like the American players that she's playing up against that we do know what their height is, like, okay, Sivka, you look like a real 6'4" then, right? So that's what I'm saying. Yeah. But I'm with you. Make no mistake. I mean, any prospect, but I understand the whole international thing. Like, you know, again, are you physically ready? But I am absolutely taking the long-term approach with the Valkyries. I know Joe Lacob says he wants to win a championship within the first 5 years of this franchise, you know, inaugural year. And who knows, maybe. But right now, like I said, I want what I believe for it's TBD, right? But Carla Late, Janelle Salon, right? And yes, right, the sister of Tijane Salon, right? Charlotte Hornets bust. And
I was going to say,
whoa.
I was just going to say high draft pick and leave it there.
I know. I was telling like my friend, like Janelle, she's definitely the more accomplished player in her family right now, relatively speaking. You know? But anyway, getting back to it, I mean, I think to me right now, they are like the young core that you expect is going to be a part, assuming we drafted Sivka. They would be the young core past this year because all the other players that we drafted, like from the expansion draft, like they're great veterans that I would think will help mentor, but they don't really have a long-term future with this team, you know? It's kind of where I'm going in.
I think it's a nice pick. I like it. You're trying to build a young core there. I think it's a complimentary player. You made an impassioned case to begin with, so I think you already had us won over. But yeah, really like that one. All right, so now
it's my job.
That's what you do. You do it best. So with that, we are now going back to Washington. Let's cue that music up. Get that thing going. Here we are.
Alrighty, we're going to do it a little more informally this time because I was really hoping, and I really hope that the Mystics do this in real life. This would be a dream 3 and 4 to fall to us, assuming Flau'jae is not coming into the draft. This would be a dream 3 and 4 for us, or assuming Flau'jae is not available at pick 3 or 4. But at pick 6, I'm going to take the purest hooper in this draft, besides Paige Bueckers, someone I'm a lot higher on than other people, one of the purest hoopers I've watched in women's college basketball in a long time, an absolute dog, and someone who just plays harder than everyone else on the floor at all times. I'm taking Isaiah James to be the next guard for the Washington Mystics. I love Isaiah James. I love her energy. I love her effort. I love her shot creation. I love her catch and shoot numbers. I love her off the dribble numbers. They're almost identical with her. She's able to operate in pick and roll. The turnover numbers I know are a little bit high, but that is my player crush for this draft. That's not, in that top tier. I would love for her to play with Brittany Sykes and learn from her. And I think that she's going to be a bona fide WNBA guard for a long time. I think you just see sometimes the qualities when you watch someone play, just the way that they move, like the way that she moves laterally, the way that she jumps into passing lanes, the way that she creates steals, creates opportunities for others, can make connective passes. I can't say anything negative about her because she truly is like my player crush in this draft. I really hope the Mystics swing up and take her at 6. That would be a phenomenal fit. And we do need guard play. Ideally, we would like to take more of a lead guard earlier. But with Olivia Miles out of the draft now, who's probably, going to be one of our picks, and I, wish AZ Fudd was going to be in this draft as well. For me, I think Isaiah James would be the best fit for this team, this new coaching staff, and especially to learn under Brittany Sykes. I think that's a phenomenal fit. So, but Conrad, I'm curious to hear your opinion and your thoughts on Isaiah James.
Yeah, you're crowing about James, and you say that you can't really think of too many negative things to say. I think maybe not what I would say is a negative. I think some other scouts would say is that her height. Right? She's 5'8". Well, she's listed on some sources 5'9".
5'9", yeah, but
right? I think she's probably closer. She's probably closer to 5'8". Having said that, I was actually having this conversation today with some other WNBA draft scout or draft people. I mean, all the analytics suggest she will hold up defensively. I mean, what does she do? If you're not just like, okay, fine. The numbers, then look at the film. So I was looking at film today. I mean, she navigates screens perfectly, maybe using her height to her advantage, right? She stays skinny on screen. She shoots the gap. She recovers. So I'm saying, right? I mean, like, you're not asking her to be a rim protector. In terms of what she's going to be tasked with defensively, she's only given us evidence that she should be pretty good. So I don't really, on my big board, I don't have her that high, but I also understand why some teams would take her that high. So yeah, in terms of like the size, and then again, going back to it, yeah, I'm not sure if she will ultimately be a lead guard. That's TBD. Like, I don't feel as confident as, well, yeah, obviously Paige, I suppose Olivia Miles, Flau'jae, okay, is a lead guard. So let's say those two at least. But I think she definitely has that upside. And in terms of, like I said, the shot creation, I mean, she's fantastic. Yeah, whether like it's off of a pick and roll, or just like going, she puts the fist up, right? Spread out, right? 1-4 flat, and let me do my thing. So I don't know if I would take her there, but I like it. Like I definitely see the vision.
I have a question kind of regarding her shooting. I mean, looking at the numbers, it pops, but not in a good way. I think her career high was 34% the year before. I think she was 33 before that and had 2 20% years. Like, how do we feel about, is it the type of shots? Do we project her the shooter? Because I think if the size in general, I look at what I would consider undersized prospects or smaller prospects. Okay, can you have some shooting as well, or are you undersized prospect who also can't space the floor?
See, here's the thing. I don't think she is necessarily a below average shooter as much as it is she was a product of the system that she was in. Like, if you look at her catch and shoot volume versus her dribble pull up volume, it kind of shows some of that. And like, if you like just the system that she was in, I think it really like hurt her game, where now she's going to be in the WNBA. She's got a lot more space to operate. I personally am not concerned about the shooting. She's got a really nice 2-part jump shot. Usually, like, my only concerns are like, call it 1, 2, 3-part jump shots. Like, she's got no major hitches that make it a 3-part jump shot. She's kind of got that D'Angelo Russell style of lefty shot. Yeah. And it's shown that's been a fairly successful style of jump shot in basketball before. And her at the rim numbers for her size are actually really good. And that's because I think for her size and position, she's got above average play strength. And I think that's not what people don't talk about a lot with her, is that like sometimes her getting through those screens or being able to, finish. She's a queen of and ones. She's really good at getting and ones and drawing and ones. And it's because she's so strong in the core and good at taking contact. So I think that play strength plays well for her finishing at the rim, but also like what Conrad was saying, I think it really proves to her advantage on defense, combating pick and rolls and even picking up 75 feet. NC State likes to pick up a lot. So loves to pick up.
Okay.
That's kind of water too.
Yeah, just one final thought to piggyback off of what Maxwell was just saying here. Like if you're going into this pick trying to draft like a pure 3-point shooter, no, that's not her.
Yeah.
Right? But that's not to say she's bad. I mean, I'd have to check. I haven't checked since the tourney, but I think on her synergy numbers for just pure catch and shoot threes, it was like 37%.
Yeah, I want to say this year she shot 35-35, both catch and shoot and off the dribble. I think she had the same splits.
Yeah, and I mean her pull-up midi, that's the strength. And as Maxwell said, her rim frequency for a guard, any size, is up there, right? I mean, it's like just a shade under like Juju level of rim frequency. So I mean, yeah. So I mean, like I see the vision. Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely a swing, but it's a personal swing, and
swing.
Yeah, a calculated swing for sure.
I like it. No, I appreciate that. Good insight for sure. All right. So we have the New York Liberty up to the plate. No.
Connecticut Sun.
Connecticut Sun. Thank you so much. Don't know how I got that mixed up. Anyway.
Yeah. That's right. They acquired, the Connecticut Sun acquired this pick from the New York Liberty in the Natasha Cloud trade.
There we go. I you know what? And I was good for one mess up today. That's okay.
You're good.
Right. Appreciate that. Let's get this music going real quick while I get that updated. Here we are. Boom. Right here. So we got taken care of. Yep.
But a more concise preface. I'm just gonna say, I know a lot of people are really down on the Connecticut Sun right now. They don't want their favorite players going there. But all things considered, I still am very high on JC Sheldon. They acquired her, in the Dejanay Carrington trade. And I really like Leila Lacan from France.
Oh, good shout. Good shout.
So what I'm saying is I don't think they're completely devoid of talent. But again, given the way they've operated this season, it looks like they're willing to rebuild. They probably want to get some high upside pick and have themselves somewhere in the Lauren Betts and Juju sweepstakes. So with that said, JC Sheldon, you're a shooting guard. Leila Khan, you're a shooting guard / small forward. I'm not against taking a point guard here. So I'm going to take, with the 7th overall pick, the Connecticut Sun will select Lithuanian point guard Justė Jocytė.
Yeah.
Again, I think people think like I got like this fetish for international prospects. Maybe I do. But in this case, I think Maxwell, he's very familiar with Jocytė's game, because if you watch a lot of Malonga's game, you see Jocytė, because they are the pick and roll duo. I don't think you're going to find another pick and roll point guard better than Jocytė. I mean, like outside of maybe Paige, right? But even Paige isn't like that pick and roll heavy, right? Just given the nature of Connecticut's system, or UConn system. But Jocytė, again, just an extremely high IQ player. And I do think she actually has a lot of considerable upside, pretty good athleticism. Maybe not the fastest point guard in this draft class, like just pure foot speed, but with a live dribble, she can. But again, what I like is her ability to play with pace, right? She understands how to change cadence, like between dribbles. Not as bouncy as, like, say, a Carla Late, but I mean, again, she is just extremely crafty with her in and out moves. She understands how to shift the defense. And, she's arguably one of the best at really breaking down a defense from like a tactical perspective, right? Like anytime she cross court, she understands like where to attack, And I mean, hey, right, if you're going old school way of building a team, you build either with like, inside with your center, or you build right with like your floor general. At the very least, she is a floor general. I do think she has that upside to be a lead guard, or at least like a starting point guard. So for the Sun that needs some structure, I'm going to go with Jocytė.
I love that pick. I love that you said cadence. That was my favorite thing that you said there, because I don't think there's a player that plays more on rhythm with the ball in their hand in this class than her, especially in the pick and roll. Like when she's like high post coming off of an action, 1-2 dribble, immediate like kick across the opposite block, it is just like every time when you watch the film, it's the same timing every time. Like you can tell that like when she's working on her game, she's not just shooting jump shots. She's running through actions as a lead ball handler, working on swing passes, working on all sorts of different things that, make her that next level type of player. She's third on my big board.
Nice.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot with her. Another smooth lefty. We just got done speaking about Zaya James, and, Justė is about as smooth as they come as far as lefties go. She just has so much suddenness to her game in the change of pace, but it goes back to what you said about cadence. Like even her suddenness is rhythmic. It's almost like Shea when he is manipulating pick and rolls in the NBA.
Yeah.
And that I feel like he's kind of like epitomizes that right now in basketball, of just like, whether he speeds you up or slows you down, that metronome is still going in his head and it's not changing. And she kind of plays the same way. I love her a lot. I think that she would be a phenomenal fit in Connecticut. I don't know what Connecticut's doing. That's kind of like my thing, is like, you got a first year GM, you got a first year head coach. The GM has been with the Sun for a long time. She was picked by the Sun back in the day. And I don't know anything about Rashid Mazain. I don't know much about him. I know he's a super accomplished international basketball coach, but as far as like my knowledge of all the coaches in the WNBA, knowing scheme, what they like to do, substitution patterns, I don't know what to expect. So I'm going to have to dig there a little bit more. But I think it's such an empty page for them. And I think someone like that, similar to your logic with the Valkyries,
yeah,
can't really go wrong there. Just she's too skilled to fail, in my opinion.
Yeah.
At 19.
Well, actually, technically, Connecticut has the next pick. So if this has any relevance, right, when you make the pick at number 8. But Rashid Mazian, he is more of like a traditional Princeton offense. If that
okay
has, but with that said, I think Jocytė absolutely would fit that. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, she would abuse it.
Yeah, right.
Maybe not in the W, but
it would make sense. It makes sense. And again, like you said, what are they doing? So we're giving them a direction. So there you go.
For sure.
Another solid pick. I love it.
Do you want me to go right back? I'll go right back.
Yeah. I was about to say, no, you need the music. You're on the
clock.
Yeah.
No, we need the music.
Yeah, hit the music. Hit the music.
You're right. Listen, you're putting me on the clock each time. Right, here we go.
Alrighty. What are we? 8th pick now? Yeah. With the 8th pick, the Connecticut Sun, are going to be bringing Kiki Iriafen to Connecticut. Yes, sir. Kiki, do you love me? We're taking you out to Connecticut. You didn't choose Connecticut last time you had the chance to, so now we're drafting you and we're forcing you to Connecticut. I think we kind of just talked about the Sun as a team, but I think with Kiki Iriafen and Tina Charles being on the same roster, I think that is a beautiful vision as far as mentorship. And is she going to be starting on the Connecticut Sun right away? No. But if you're playing behind someone like Tina Charles, it can do a lot for a player. Like I've seen when she was with the Mystics, Tina Charles was really impactful with our young players. So I think, the impact that something like that could have on a player like Kiki Iriafen, who is very mature, one of the most mature players and one of the most polished players. Like we know what Kiki is as far as like what to expect. She's been a consistent 20 and 10 performer for the last 2 years. We've seen the steady rise of her game, throughout the collegiate ranks. We've seen that slow linear progression of her game just get better and better. Obviously the numbers weren't as good this year as they were last year at Stanford. Way different scenario, different role. But I love this pick for Connecticut. Kind of same thought as the Mystics too. You take a foreign player, it might be nice to take a domestic player with a little bit of experience who, she'll be ready to play in the rotation immediately from day one. So there's no question about that.
Yeah, this is. Oh, go ahead.
No, please give your analysis first. I have a question afterwards. No worries.
Oh no, I was just gonna say. This is actually right where I have her on my big board. I have her 8th. Some people question like why I don't have her higher. I don't feel comfortable taking higher. I think this is kind of the range where like fine. And again, in this team where it's a rebuilding team where you can play around her weaknesses and try, play around it and try to develop, the aspects of her game that she's kind of lacking in. For me, it's just there's no denying her talent. There's no denying her work ethic. I don't question any of that. And again, for people that care about that, yes, she's a very marketable player. She's a very high profile player. But let's be real. Like she basically her comfortable preferred method of scoring is basically right like 14 feet in, right? Like she basically is a center offensively, right? She is
now
literally one of the absolute worst rim protectors, right? Or
no, for sure.
All of women's college basketball, right? Like what is it that I checked the synergy last time? Like in terms of like just rim defense, like she's like what? Like below 20th percent, like at the 19th percentile.
Thank God for Rhea Marshall.
Exactly, right? And I will give her credit, right? Because of her inability to kind of provide any weak side defense weak side help. They have her on the perimeter, and she is good in containment. She is good at containing in isolation. She dies on screens, and she gets lost on switches. I'm talking about like no man's land. Like, so basically, you're defending on the perimeter, but you're a power forward, but you play a center. You know what I'm saying? Like there are a lot of things you have to work around to fit her. Now, is she capable of improving? I'd like to think so. But at least defensively, you have a big sample size suggesting that you are not like she's not going to improve significantly in that regard. And that to me is tough. Like for a front court player that can produce like any kind of like paint protection, rim protection, I have a problem with that. And then offensively, I guess if I'm being optimistic, sure. If you really believe she has stretch four potential, cool. Then okay, that definitely changes things. But right now, you know, she's at best, like, she likes that face-up game, if not, like, her little sweeping right hook. So, and again, I'm not trying to, like, downplay, like, what she does well. It's just she's a very specific type of player, right? So, that's what I'm saying. It's really interesting to see how she fits with other veterans and how they build around her.
Yeah, I'll just say this. It's funny you talked about her defensive issues because I'm a USC supporter, so I've watched a lot of Kiki this year, and you know, one specific thing that worries me, and we talked about this earlier about who did we talk about it with putting in drop? Sivka. Did we talk about, was it Sivka that we talked about putting her in drop, or Malonga? I don't remember who we talked about putting in drop.
Yeah.
But,
Bets.
bets. We were talking about bets. But Kiki, same thing. Like with Rhea on the floor or off the floor, where like for the athlete that you see on the court, it's really disappointing how much they have to play drop for her and how much Rhea Marshall specifically. I mean, Rhea Marshall has a chance to get drafted at the end of this draft just based on some of those, defensive, shortcomings of her peers and her being elevated as this, ultra rim protector for USC. So it's funny you say that because I think that's like the biggest fear for her is getting abused in drop, not playing with a true five, having her be like, kind of being talk about the Valley. Reminds me of what happened to Mark Stoudemire when he was a young guy, couldn't decide between center and power forward. And it was the whole talk, you're Arizona kid, And so that's my worry with her is like, she can't stretch the floor. So we got to start to play her as a five. Now she's just getting abused in, 1-5 pick and rolls because she can only play drop. But we'll see. Not to be negative, but
no. I think keeping it real is what we do here. Right?
Yeah, just trying to keep it real.
There you go. And that's actually what my question was, which was kind of touched on by both of you here. But do we, in our mock, obviously, she drops still, first round, still higher end, but definitely a little bit later. I've seen a couple of mock drafts to form a consensus from that where she's top 5. Do you think, I know I'm looking at one right now where she's top 4, but do you think in general that she does go in the top 5 and that maybe, our consensus is a little bit outside? Do you have her more mocked? I mean, in that 5 to 8 or that 1 to 4, like where do we think about her right now based off consensus, which we've already selected, but like now putting ourselves in as best as we can, those making the pick. Does she go top 5 in either of your guys' estimation?
I think the only way, if Flau'jae declares she's not going top 4.
Okay. Flau'jae does it, bye-bye. Yeah, forget that.
Yeah, that's for sure. It says Maxwell said at the top of the episode, if Washington happens to really like Kiki Iriafen, maybe, right? Because that's what it comes down to, right? Is that Washington has those back-to-back picks. They kind of decide whether or not she's gonna go. I know, again, a lot of people have hit me up on Twitter or X, whatever you call it, and saying like, I mean, come on, Conrad, like, I mean, they're Kiki fans, and they're like, dude, isn't this like the type of face that you want, a face of the franchise? And like I said, right? I mean, like, if I'm the GM, I'm not operating like that. No. Like, I no, like that's not enough to sway me, right? Again, right? We already sold out our stadium, so what are we talking about here? Right?
We're good.
So,
we're just fine.
Yeah. So I mean, but in realistic, I mean, I can, because again, like, as Maxwell said, you see the type of athlete she is. We've seen the videos of her dunking. Now, I mean, I don't know if she's going to dunk in game, but what I'm saying is she is that type of athlete. I could see a GM, right, in the top 5 saying, wait, right, this we could work with this, right? We'll work around. We're going to try to like, develop her, but so.
Yeah, I don't know, because with the Mystics, with the way that Michael Winger has kind of taken the Wizards and the Mystics both since he's taken over Monumental Sports, and kind of how the teams are kind of shifting, I don't know if Kiki fits the profile that the Mystics are trying to draft for. where I think Malonga is like, I mean, we just drafted Alex Sarr, for the Wizards last year. I know for a fact this regime's going to love Malonga and be salivating all over her. She's been at multiple Wizards games this year already. So she's already been around DC this year. So I know that the Mystics are eyeing her. So just from what I have taken, and as Conrad said, if Flau'jae is in this, I think we'd be hard pressed to see her go top 5. I think the Valkyries would be the first chance that we see her go. But I think her draft starts at 5. And again, if I'm the Valkyries, we've sold out. We're not, I would rather take that Sivka swing, and really, squeeze the juice of someone who's almost 4 years younger than Kiki, who's going to be around for a little bit longer. So I think that her draft kind of starts at 5, and I don't know if Golden State or Washington at 5 and 6 would pick her. That's a big toss up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's fair. I appreciate that for sure. Definitely. All right. So now we are moving on. Just a couple more picks left, y'all. We're at the Los Angeles Sparks now.
That's right.
With the 9th overall pick. Have to make sure. Let's cue up that sweet, sweet music.
I'll give the explanation, so no preface this time. With the 9th overall pick, the Los Angeles Sparks select Maryland guard Shyanne Sellers.
I like that.
Yeah. I mean,
Hooper.
Maxwell and I have been talking about, we're both really high on Shyanne Sellers. I'm not sure where she'll end up on my board right now, just because, I don't know, as we're having this mock, I'm kind of like already rearranging my rank. I'm going to say guard only because that's how she's typically listed. I think Maxwell and I were talking about this. I think ultimately she's one of the rare types of players that is going to play up a position. Frankly, I think she's going to play up 2 positions. I think she's ultimately going to be a small forward in the WNBA, which is why, no, I don't think there's any positional overlapping with who the Sparks currently have. Going into this, I was thinking maybe going point guard. I know some Sparks fans say, right, like they don't really believe, that they have a long-term point guard in-house.
Oh, like Kelsey after Kelsey Plum?
Yeah, right. And then there are even some fans that debate whether at this point in her career she really is a point guard, which is, I understand, right? Like she's basically played shooting guard for the last several years for the Aces, but I mean, ultimately she is going to be the point guard this year. But Rikea's at the 2. You could also make the argument they don't really have a long-term solution at 3, like a real, what I'm saying? Or at least give some competition for for a long-term wing. I think Shyanne Sellers has some of the most unique shot creation in this draft class. Kind of brought this up before with you, Corban, both of you guys, but I mean, what she's capable of doing in the mid post, and I understand we're kind of entering like the pace and space era, but still, right? How do you capitalize on the space that your teammates give you? And she creates some of like the coolest pinch post opportunities, right? I'm not really sure who her WNBA comp is, because like when I watch more of her film, again, when she's attacking from the mid post, like I don't know, dude, it's like weird. Like I see like Adrian Dantley sometimes, like the way, right? Like she will find a way like to get to the rim, and that's what I'm saying, right? Like if you want to have true floor balance, I think she's the exact type of person you want, right? I can envision the way she can play with, Rickea Jackson. Cam Brink can space the floor anyway, right? So it seems like a great fit. And again, yeah, I mean, anyone you draft at this point, I don't know if they step in immediately, but I wouldn't be surprised, if she works her way into the rotation. And then again, long term, I think she has a considerable upside that it's worth the Sparks really investing this pick in.
Yeah, I love this pick. I love this fit. Cheyenne Sellers, I'm also a Maryland supporter, so odd combo now that they're both in the Big Ten. But I love Cheyenne Sellers. I like thinking about her on the Sparks, like 2 years down the road, her catching high post in the middle of the zone, initiating offense with Brink on one wing, Rakea Jackson on the other, and hopefully Dearica Hamby somewhere in the mix, and like I think she could be so effective with specifically Rakea and Brink. I'm going to assume that no one else, with the new CBA, and I don't think anyone is signed for the Sparks past this season.
No.
I love that fit. About the player, I mean, kind of like what I said about Isaiah James. It's when you get a pure hooper, someone who plays both ends, plays hard as shit all the time, pardon my language, but just brings that
You're good.
elite, effort level. That's just a player that, usually doesn't fail. And she is like in that like top tier of effort level and energy. I do want to say that I have some concerns about her knee. It was getting pretty rough near the end of this season. She's had issues with it before, and I do think that that's like the one thing that could hold her back from being able to physically hold up in the W is just that knee. So, because she's not, she's not oversized. She's going to have to play the 2 in the W, in my opinion. I think she could play 3, but it all depends on that knee and if it holds up. She has the play strength to play 3, especially on defense. But it's just and if she's healthy, the lateral quickness. But the last couple games, when they were playing Alabama, I mean, she was struggling. She was struggling to get through pick and rolls and run up and down the court. So I'm a little worried about the knee, but I love the fit with her and the Sparks.
Yeah. I guess one before we move on to Chicago. No, actually, I think Maxwell brings up a great point. I'm sure that is something to consider. I don't want to completely just disregard it because I like the player, and her skill set. I'm not trying to be overly optimistic. That final game against Alabama, she was not moving. But in that, knows what I'm saying. She was still carrying that team based just off of footwork alone. That's what I'm saying. Is Maxwell was saying, like, she is such a hooper. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, her skills are that freaking solid that even though she didn't have the burst that she normally has, she couldn't move laterally normally, she still found ways, right, to actually create like quality looks for herself or her teammates. I don't know, right? I mean, as long as she doesn't get medically red flagged, I would pick her here,
That's fair. I like it though. I mean, there's something to look at just to be, all mindful of that. But at the same time, the talent, barring health, is going to be really, really good. So, really good pick there. And now we move on to the number 10 pick. We got the Chicago Sky up to the plate, but that's a baseball, and we're not doing that. They're going to say they're on the clock. Let's get that sweet, sweet music in. Let's get this thing going.
Alrighty. So, preface this pick a tiny bit. This is actually the player that I want to go to the Sky the most. I think the Sky kind of need this style of wing player, someone to kind of elevate their pace a little bit, but someone who might be one of the best slashers in this draft when used properly. But similar to her teammate, Isaiah James, I think that there were times in college where she might have been used improperly and not correctly. And we are going to be selecting Saniya Rivers here.
Okay.
I don't think it's a stretch to say that after Malonga, she's the second best athlete in this draft. In fact, I would probably say that she is. Defensively, I think she's physically gifted on the perimeter. Mentally, I have questions when she's off the ball. She can be a little lackadaisical at times, and I sometimes question her IQ off the ball as far as like being present in passing lanes and being aware. But when she's on and when she's locked in, I mean it's a all WNBA defender ceiling for her. I truly feel like that. I think she'll be able to switch 1 through 4 on smaller fours in the WNBA down the line. She's 9th on my board. She's the last player on like that starter, probable starter down the road tier. But I think for her landing with the Sky, it's going to give her that runway to spread her wings. Like I was kind of saying earlier with the Valkyries, with the Sky, you have a lot of veteran guards and a lot of young bigs. And so adding another younger wing with some veteran guards that you already have in the mix right there with Vandersloot, I think that provides her a good opportunity to kind of like learn how to be that off-ball cutter, impactful defender, and then slowly grow into impactful off-ball shooter, someone who's getting rebounds and starting a fast break in the WNBA. I think some of those type of things are going to be what she starts to grow in her game as she gets comfortable. But I think with her, it's one of those like trust the process picks, and that's why she's the last player in this tier for me, is because I do think coaching and development for her is going to be really important, because that's going to be the difference between her just being a slasher, slightly above average defender, or being like a serious change of pace 2-way player, who can be a versatile defender and, rip off the rebound and create fast break opportunities. So I like Saniya Rivers a lot. I think her landing in Chicago would be a good fit.
Yeah, I think I think you can make a case that she would be a good fit at any of these teams late in the first round. On a previous episode of Indie Basketball Podcast, Corban and I were talking about who we saw as potential future Defensive Player of the Year candidates from this draft class. Saniya Rivers was my suggestion, or my pick for someone who I could envision being a DPOI candidate down the line. In my opinion, she is. Yeah, because we at least know her body of work. In my opinion, she is the best wing defender in this draft class.
I would agree.
I think she is significantly better than Sonia Citron. Sonia Citron is going higher because Sonia Citron can shoot.
Yeah.
Let's be real. Right?
Yeah.
Saniya Rivers cannot shoot. She can't shoot. Right? We need to get her to at least league average. Just get league average. Just get 33% or something.
It might never get there, too, to be fair. And she will still be a crazy effective player. She can get other things going.
Exactly. I mean, a lot of people have compared at least her developmental template, model her development after Dejanay Carrington. And I get it, right? I mean, she is such a defensive playmaker. You'll have, as you said, the opportunity to, initiate, to run the fast break. Yes. She is a pretty proficient passer. I could see, where she is still a factor offensively, where even if that shot doesn't become like above league average, I think she's still a viable offensive option at any given time. At least she can stay on the court. So I'm with there.
So just quick question, because I kind of like that Dejanay Carrington shot. I never thought about that. You think that she'll benefit more or less than Dejanay Carrington if she plays with Vandersloot and the guards that Chicago has, compared to when Dejanay came in and got to play with when she got to play with AT, when she really started to solidify herself in the W? I
think she'll benefit more.
Okay.
Yeah, I think she could potentially benefit more. Obviously, Chicago. It is why some people might roll their eyes at our pick here or your pick, because some people say we should need more shooting, right?
Yeah.
I would argue that personally.
Whatever, man. That's what free agency is for. Okay.
Yeah.
But I like that too. No, I agree. There's many ways to team build here, and so I think it's a tremendous response to those who would say that.
Yeah, and I think, that's a really valid point, too, about, Chicago is probably the worst shooting team as it currently stands in the WNBA right now, right? So who would be the shooter here? Is it Pau? I mean, she's got pretty, is it Amore? Is it,
I don't even buy...
who's going to be an off-ball shooter for you?
I don't buy Amore. I don't buy Amore shooting enough to justify her.
I like Pau, but yeah.
See, they're all in that next tier for me.
What about Haley?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. She is.
Is Haley even getting picked? Yeah.
Pow Pow's definitely in the next tier for me. I know a lot of mocks have her in the first round. Like, it's not even that I think little of her or her game. It's just I think higher of some other prospects. It's that simple. And yeah, I guess, that's the thing. I think a lot of these other mock drafts, these Main Street mock drafts, they pick Pow Pow or Amor, but Amor's shooting numbers are not. There's a lot of volume to her game that I don't think is going to be available to her in the W. And when she doesn't have that volume, she's not efficient enough to call her like a shooter.
Let me ask you this, Conrad, between Georgia, Pow Pow, and Sundell from Kansas State, how do you have those three ranked right now? Because those are kind of the next three guards that I have on my board.
Sundell is definitely a top of those three.
Okay.
I guess, it's Sundell, Amor, and then Pow Pow. And there's actually a gap between Amor and Pow Pow. I know a lot of people will disagree with that. The thing is, Amor, you could convince me that she could actually be like a lead guard sometime down the road, or at the very least, like a supercharged sixth woman of the year. You know what I'm saying? Like, she'll be the leader of the second unit.
Oh yeah, she's got Lonnie Mitchell vibes all over. You know, six woman of the year. Like, I'm with you. I think. Sundell's the top for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. So there we go.
Yeah, I was gonna say there. It had to happen one time. I'll have myself muted an hour 30 into this, just before our penultimate.
Well, we're nearing the end here of the first round, so we're doing good.
I'll take my gaff happening this late in the game, so we're good. So next up, pick 11. I think it's the Minnesota Lynx we have.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. So we're gonna bring them up to the clock here. Let's get that sweet draft sound. Let's see if
I mean, Minnesota, in my opinion, they can go a number of directions. I know a lot of fans will say, like, we need more size. I think their tallest players are like 6'3". I am not going to draft size for the sake of them needing size. Not if they're just, as we like to say, Jags, right? Like, I'm sorry. I'm not going to draft he who shall not be named or she who will not be, a certain TCU center. Or I'm sorry, Texas, Oregon. Am I missing another school? I mean, I'm sorry. When you're closer to the age of 30, like, there's less appeal for me. So, no, I've seen her name on some mock drafts. No, I'm not going to entertain that. I liked Yoka Lee. Sounds like she does not even want to play professionally. Yes, I understand, right? I know she's battled a lot of injuries. So for me, with the Lynx, again, I didn't mean to preface this, but I guess I am now. They're, despite not having like size, like a 6'6" or 6'7" center, they have a very deep team. They have a very deep team. I would not be surprised if they find themselves, in the WNBA finals again. I'm not predicting it. I'm just saying they have a very deep team, so deep that they essentially redshirted Elisa Peely. So you know what? They're going to do it again. They're going to redshirt someone again. And this time, they're going to go with Kansas State point guard Serena Sundell. She could fit with any of them. It's that simple. I mean, like, she's a 6. Well, I think she's actually closer to 6'2" when you look at her next to her teammates. Some say 6'1", some say 6'2", but a legitimate, true point guard. A true point guard. Some people, if there is a negative about her game, they'll question her three-point shooting. I don't actually think it's that bad. And frankly, her pull-up game is fantastic. And at 6'2", she is rising up over like almost everybody. And the same thing, like, I think sometimes people think high-low passing is easy. It is not, but I mean, she is a master at it. That high-low game between her and Yoka Lee was unstoppable. Now do that with Napheesa Collier. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude. Okay, like Fee can already eat on her own, but my God, you know what I'm saying? So I just like it. I think whether or not she cracks the rotation this year, she probably wouldn't. But if she has to be like because of injury or whatever, she's forced into duty. She could play with any of them. Like, and again, her height is such an advantage. Her post-up game from a guard. I mean, will she be backing down people? Probably not. But I mean, her flash posts are fantastic. And again, she is really good. Because her pull-up game is so automatic, she fakes out defenses so much, right? Where she ends up making a jump pass, which it's going to go over the defender because she's so tall. She's just such a smart player, right? Which it just fits with the identity of the Lynx, right? I think all of us think very highly of Minnesota. So that's why whether or not she plays this year, I'm going with Serena Sundell.
I love that pick. For me, there's like two players in my mind for Cheryl Reeve right here. Sundell, which is like, kind of like the foundational, like academic Cheryl Reeve pick. Like if you know Cheryl Reeve, like Sundell is, that's right down her alley. But if you also know Cheryl Reeve, like she likes to take swings every once in a while. I think this could be a sleeper Anissa Moro spot. What you mentioned about that size, I don't. It will all be dependent. It's eye of the beholder. The Lynx have one person calling the final shots there, and especially with A-Rod and Lori now being Cheryl Reeve's new boss as of today, as of this morning. They are going to let her run that ship, and they are not going to interfere. That's already been communicated and widely known that Cheryl Reeve is going to only have more control. So I love the Sundell pick. I think she's the best pure passer as a guard in this draft, even better than Paige, which is kind of crazy to say. But that's her gift. The only thing that concerns me is she has really good pull-up shooting numbers, but the jump shot itself, just release point, and it's closer to a 3-part jump shot than a 1-part jump shot. And so, like, for me, I'm kind of torn because when I watch her shoot, the release is fast. She gets a lot of revolutions on the ball. When she makes, swishes, they're good swishes. She doesn't get a lot of iron. Her misses are good misses, but I'm worried about that release point off the dribble in the WNBA. I'm worried about her, release point playing against bigger, more physical guards. And I know that she's listed at 6'2", correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So, that's very good size for a WNBA guard. And I love Sundell. I have her as a first-round prospect on my board as well.
Yeah.
But that's just the one concern that I want to share is just there's part of her jump shot that is just absolutely gorgeous. You watch the ball revolve twice as much as some other prospects that we've talked about on a jump shot. But at the same time, it's just a little clunky and the release point's a little low. And I worry that the speed of the WNBA game and the defense might catch up to her jump shot a little bit. But
yeah, no, I think that's a really good point that you bring up. I feel the same way. I think it's the type of jump shot you can get away with if you are on ball a lot, right?
Okay.
When you're basically just kind of like pulling up or stepping into your own shot, where defense, where defenses are kind of like, are you going to drive or are you going to, so you can kind of get the defense off kilter just a little bit. I agree. Yeah. If she is going to be seeing some minutes off ball, then yes. Yeah. I mean, that is something she definitely needs to improve on, but like you said, I'm banking on the IQ and just the overall, skill, the court vision.
Fair. And that's, especially with, Cheryl Reeve's tutelage, I think that's great. That's the safest gamble here, I would say.
Yeah. All right. And
I think it's all across the board. Yeah. Well, go up, take it in.
Oh, no, I was saying technically, this is the final pick. Seeing how as the Aces had to forfeit their pick, this is the final pick of the first round.
Yep, that was going to the Dallas Wings. Indeed. So closing this one out, Maxwell, we got to give it to you here.
Man, putting me in the hot seat because who do we want to talk about last?
I'm about to say whoever we don't talk about, give me these two names that we've been discussing.
Before you make your selection, I will just say the Dallas Wings have the 14th overall pick.
Yeah.
Second overall pick. Right? So, I mean, if you want to swing, go ahead and swing. You see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
I mean,
no, for sure.
Assuming they're making all these selections, there's going to be a good player for them at 14. So, I don't. Yeah, you could go a number of direct. I know. I guess.
You know,
I have ideas too. Yeah, go ahead.
I kind of actually want to give some love to someone that I've actually seen a little bit lower on boards. She's 16th on my board right now, and we haven't talked about her at all today. So that's why I want to bring her up. She's tough as shit, man. Like she's going to stick in the W, and that's Madison Scott from Ole Miss. Offensively, I don't know what it's going to look like in the WNBA.
Are we just talking about her, or is that your selection? Let me just ask. We're just talking through. We're talking through. No worries.
I just want to talk. I just wanted to give her a shout out real quick because I have a few people above her. I just want to give her a shout because we've talked about everyone else above her on my board. I think she's going to stick in the W and be a really kick-ass defender in the W, and the offense is going to pick itself up. But inside 14 feet, driving and slashing, you know, she can make some money near the rim. And she can shoot when she's set too. Like there's definitely foundations of shooting success if developed correctly. So I think that she's going to be a really good third round pick if she gets drafted.
Yeah, I have her in my late 20s. Well, actually, it's going to revise, so she's probably mid 20s now. But I see it. That's actually why, like, again, because of her reputation, I could see her actually getting picked higher than where I have her ranked. And that's why I'm saying, like, well, Dallas does have 14, right? Like, I wouldn't be surprised, she's still available. Because there are names too I want to throw out. But again, they probably would be available at 14 too. So
yeah. Well, I'll tell you guys who I will pick here is another player. I don't think we mentioned her yet, but with the 12th pick, the Dallas Wings are going to select Sarah Ashlee Barker, wing from the Alabama Crimson Tide. I think that this is like the perfect, like, little calculated swing for the Wings if they don't want to go with a pure guard. I think that the IQ that Ashlee Barker brings and the processing speed that she's going to bring alongside Paige, I think that would be phenomenal to watch. I think she's one of the best processors of the game in this draft. I watched her just absolutely destroy the Terps a couple of weeks ago, not even a couple of weeks ago, like 7 days ago. But she is just phenomenal. She had a phenomenal tournament. I know that there's some concerns about her recent success. I know that it's not been a prolonged, domination station, as I like to call it, for Sarah Ashlee Barker in college. It's definitely been a rise for her to get to this point, to be talked about, as a borderline first round pick in the WNBA draft. And obviously some dropouts help, but I just love the idea of having a high IQ, defensive centered coach who loves movement and loves to move the ball as much as possible, putting two of the best processors in the draft together, and someone who can play off ball and handle the ball in secondary creation, opportunities. So I love the idea of putting her with Paige.
Yeah, I want to tell the audience that Maxwell and I did not discuss this before we recorded, because
which I love.
That was going to be my pick for the Dallas Wings.
No way.
Okay. Because I think on most mainstream mocks, she's like a mid to late second, but I don't even think it's just recency bias. Like me personally, I do not weigh tournament games that much more, right? Like, I mean, I feel like, especially in the WNBA, I mean, these ladies have been playing for 4 or 5 years. there's a big enough sample size. I mean, sure, maybe it might tell us about like, playing against certain types of defenses you hadn't seen before, like certain defensive schemes. But no, I think Sarah Ashlee Barker has been extremely underrated this entire draft process. I'm glad that she had the tournament run that she had to kind of show that people were somewhat sleeping. I agree with everything that Maxwell said. I think, yes, obviously we expect Paige to be on ball. I mean, I don't think any one player will be dominating. I mean, obviously Iriafen will have her touches on ball, but I when Sarah Ashlee Barker officially declared for the draft, I mean, yeah, she is a threat on ball. She's arguably a bigger threat when she's off ball. Like when she is rotating, she can cause so much havoc. Whether again, that's like just using her cuts to create screens for her teammates, or like again, just always creating secondary action, always creating, making herself available to be like kind of like a release valve or a reset option. Yeah, you're going again, like what we were saying, right? It's not a knock on Iriafen Gumawale. Like we just don't want her to be the primary facilitator. So now to add 2, what's better than 1, 2, right? So yeah, I love Sarah Ashlee Barker to the wings. I'm with you. I think she and Paige would get along real well. And as you said, she's a dog, man. Like she is like Paige. She will fight for those rebounds and everything. Like she has no problem boxing out. So Dallas could be really fun, man. Just take our advice.
Yeah, Dallas, draft these 2.
There it is.
That's right.
There it is. You have to. All right, y'all. So we're gonna kind of close out here, but before we do, I have one burning question I want to ask y'all, and that is,
yes.
We've reached the end of the first round here for our possible first of many, we'll see, but our definite first 2025 WNBA mock draft. Question is, who slipped out the first round? Because there are a few names I've seen, whether it's Georgia Moore, Anissa Morrow. I was big on Haley Van Lith. Like, there's a few names that I thought would at least be in the conversation, if not outright selected. And I mean, listen, I'm talking to 2 WNBA draft analysts who really know the stuff, but like, we talked maybe 2 of the 3 names I mentioned, we talked about in like name only in passing. Haley didn't even get brought up. Like, I'm just curious where y'all have these players, if there's other players who slipped, and why these players didn't make your board, at least for the top 13.
Yeah, sorry, HVL faithful.
I'm just
sorry, HVL Hive.
Playmaker this year, and she got the dog in her,
Oh, 100%.
I guess I'll start. We'll since we're wrapping this up.
Mm-hmm.
I think people really think I'm an HVL hater. No, I think I've been very objective, or they just think that I am so biased to what we saw last year at LSU. No, not even that. Like, make no mistake, she is a hooper. Again, I don't question her tenacity. I don't question her work ethic. I don't question her passion for the game. Right? I'm just trying to objectively evaluate her skills, and then, do the numbers match what I believe I'm seeing? And to me, I see a ball-dominant guard who struggles to create separation, even with the use of a screen, right? Like, I kind of broke down earlier in the middle of the season. Like, I like to break down, like, people's games, and I'll just kind of clip a segment and then just what were the actual actions. And everything's like a power dribble crossover, a power dribble floater, right? A power dribble step back, right? Why the extra power dribble? Because she's trying to get a little bit more separation. That matters to me, right? Not that she's completely diminutive, but I mean, I don't think that she's particularly athletic or fast. That's not to say that she's unathletic, but I mean, I don't think the types of shots that she's getting, I'm not sure she'll be able to get to them as comfortably in the dub. So to me, she's probably, yes, she is a WNBA player, but to me, that's more of like a backup guard. That's a rotational guard to me. So for that, that's what we're talking about, like what Max and I are saying. Like, we don't know that the people that we have in the first round are all starters, but we see starter upside. Like, you see a path for them to attain that. I'm not sure I see that with HBL.
Yeah, I think I'm in a similar boat, like I kind of like, start to ask myself like questions like, a GM would when looking at her. And it's like, do I want her handling the ball, 15% of my offensive possessions and driving offense? Do I want her on an island defending WNBA athletes in live dribble, pick and roll actions or, isolation actions? No. I think just some of the like athletic limitations like Conrad was talking about, specifically the lateral quickness, is just going to be really difficult for her to play on ball and play as like a high volume on ball player in the W. I think for her, she kind of is looking more as like that off ball shooter. She's a phenomenal shooter off the catch or off the dribble, but I think if she's playing off the ball and is in like a secondary creation space, I don't necessarily think that she, will be a bench player forever necessarily, but I just think there's a few limitations to where she's gonna, need to change her game a little bit to play alongside more ball dominant guards and players who are better drivers of offense. I think, especially playing in transition, she's gonna struggle in the W. There's some teams that would just get out and run her down. And I'm not trying to be rude, but there's some real athletes in the W, and it's just like a step and a half above where she is right now. Yeah. And it kind of is like a similar concern that I have with Georgia. Is like she can run, she'll be able to run with them. Like her speed is phenomenal. But once she gets that shoulder into her chest, she might be in the fourth row. That first week, and I have this, if Haley's not turning around to see what happened, because she already got blown by, she might end up in the second or third row too. If she wasn't such a dog, I would believe that. But the only thing that, is keeping me from thinking that is her effort and energy level. So I think there's too many limitations that people don't want to talk about because of who she is and what they saw at TCU. But
I agree.
Yeah, but I think if you're watching really closely, the space creation, like Conrad was saying, I think that was your best point, is that it's very difficult for her. And I mean, you see her in the fourth quarter of every game, she's all red, scratch marks, her face is like bleeding red, and not with blood, but because she's got hit in the face 4 times a game. Because there's no space, she's getting whacked all the time. She's a magnet for contact. And it's not because she's initiating it all the time. It's because she doesn't have the ability to separate comfortably. So I think that's kind of the big worry there.
Yeah. And then to quickly, since you brought up Amor again, with Amor at a guard of her size, you need to have some more go-to moves, right? Where they're not completely phasing you out, where they're not just gonna, either sag off you or just completely blitz you, what I'm saying, like that. If she had because of her size too, right? Like, I mean, anytime she gets a 3, a lot of them are step backs. I don't think her step back is going to be as effective, right? So given that she's so fast, ideally you'd like to see her with more of a transition 3, a pull-up 3 game. Her pull-up 3, like her pull-up 3 percentage is horrible. Like, it's god-awful, right? I do not see her living off of, floaters or runners,
Yeah, probably not.
I mean,
that's not the ideal shot.
Camille Cardoso is sending that thing into like the 5th row, So
for sure.
Yeah, that's why, right? They make no mistake, they have talent, they have these things that they're good at. It's just they have like these really glaring flaws or weaknesses that, just again, it's not that we don't like it, we have to bump them down, or we have others ranked higher. And the last name, I believe, Corban, that you mentioned, Te-Hina Paopao.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people love her. She has her fan base. Again, another high-profile name. She's a rotational guard to me. I'm
Agreed.
sorry if that sounds mean.
Agreed.
Like, you could get that type of guard in free agency for the minimum. I'm okay. Well, you could get that type of guard in free agency. That is she's not a franchise player. She's not a franchise cornerstone.
100%. That offense stagnates way too much when she handles the ball. When you watch her film, and whoever watches Pow Pow, watch her film in the half court and just count in half court possessions how many dribbles she has per possession. You can look it up on Synergy if you have Synergy. You can find a place to look at that, but just watch how much she dribbles the ball for how talented South Carolina is. That's I never hear people talk about it, but she stagnates that offense so much. It's not talked about. And I think she's a phenomenal player, but that's she's more of a rotational guard than a lead guard.
Yeah. I was going to say, is that part of not even a system, but just how she plays? Is it adaptable, or do you think she's going to have to do that at the next level as well to be semi-successful?
I just think for her, she's going to transition from playing on the ball to off the ball if she wants to be successful in the W. I think she is going to turn into being a secondary creator instead of one of South Carolina's primary creators. I think that's her path to success, is being a knockdown, catch and shoot 3-point shooter. Hey, Pow Pow's in the corner. We know she's shooting at least 36%, and go from there. Because that's the one thing that she tangibly, it's I feel pretty good about Tina Pow Pow catch and shoot, in the WNBA. That's the one thing where I'm okay, that and, defensive intensity, feel pretty good about.
This can be done. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, her catch and shoot 3-point percentage is a little bit down this year, but it's down to 38%. It's great. It's great, right? Her last year she was around just around 40. So I mean, I'm with Maxwell. We don't really have to worry about her 3-point shot. So again, I mean, if that is probably going to be her biggest selling point, their biggest appeal to GMs. But again, her reputation as this 3-and-D, maestro, I think is completely overblown.
Agreed.
She's a one-dimensional, a strictly positional defender.
Agreed.
And then you have, her teammate Raven Johnson. I mean, she can't shoot. You know what I'm saying? It's the weirdest backcourt, man. But I mean, they're great. They're great within that system. But so yes, definitely some names that have definitely popped up on mainstream mocks. But no, I can't right now. No, not right now. I don't think there's a way I'll be able to justify taking them in the first round.
Yeah, I'll say this though. I think Pow Pow has a much better chance to succeed compared to HVL and Georgia. The three that we just talked about, if I had to gamble, put all my chips on one, I would put it on Pow Pow.
I think that's fair.
I think she's just going to find a different role in the WNBA playing off ball, and she's just going to make a career out of it.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a significantly more streamlined role.
Yeah, because imagine if Cheryl Reeve drafts her. Right. And she's not playing this year, but if she goes to a coach like that, it's when Stephon Castle went to the Spurs in the last NBA draft, where you're regardless of how I feel about him going to the Spurs, there's just some teams and some players who, just kind of align like that. I think Pow Pow would really benefit from being with a coach like that. Make that transition a lot smoother for her. But
for sure.
Okay. Well, we'll see where they end up in our next mock draft, where we'll go out. We'll try to attempt to go out to at least 2 rounds.
Yeah,
maybe 3 if we're feeling good. So
if you catch us on a frisky day, y'all, we gonna make something happen. But no, this is fun. This is smooth. Nearly 2 hours of WNBA draft content. So definitely happy to have had y'all on, giving your insights. You're both students of the game. The WNBA draft through and through. So a lot of fun. Before we wrap this thing up, can both of y'all please let the good folks know where they can find both of you and your work? Definitely want to get that out here as well.
Yeah, sure. As always, you can find me on Twitter or X. My handle is @CP3_777. And when you get to my profile, in my little bio, there's a link to my podcast, East Meets West. I would love it if you all subscribe, check out any of the episodes, the previous ones, the current ones. Drop a like, drop a comment, anything, everything. We appreciate all of it.
Yeah, you guys can find me at Hoops Disciple on X or Twitter. zeros for the O's and hoops all capitalized. And then you can find all my work at the Center Hub. Do not have a podcast, but I usually am appearing on other people's podcasts around the Center Hub, so you can catch my guest appearances on pods like this, and things like the One and Done, and Bird Rights with Mr. Bagel, and hopefully a lot more written content soon. I just got off a long, crazy work last few months, and then just got my shoulder replaced, so finally getting back in the swing of things. So you're going to see a lot of content coming from me on the written side here on the website soon.
That's things we love to see, 100%. So thank you. And Maxwell, you definitely got a show here on the regular whenever you want. So definitely want to get that here on the air. Y'all can follow me on social media at Corban NBA. That is CORBAN NBA. But we do it all, NBA, WNBA, all of it. Love hoops. And if you made it through, all 2 hours of this show, you also love hoops. So shout out to y'all, But yeah, no, definitely make sure to check all of us out our respective social media handles. Check out the Center Hub. They'll be on their YouTube channel. Obviously, at the Center Hub on social media, there's a lot of great stuff there and a lot more coming. And then check out, of course, the Indie Basketball Podcast. That's Conrad, myself, maybe Maxwell, other people.
And Maxwell.
There we go. Maxwell. Exactly. And Maxwell coming in. And we talk NBA, WNBA. We do some college when it comes to the draft. All of it. It's a lot of fun. And I like to not toot our own horn, but we know a little bit of hoops, so it's kind of cool to have that bring to the table. All right, y'all, that's it for the conclusion. For Maxwell, for Conrad, for myself, we are Frosty. Y'all stay frosty, and we'll talk to y'all real soon. All right, y'all.